Jeff Morgan as our speaker to our group. This particular group, we have been meeting off and on throughout the year. We were looking at the different platforms in the across states, and we were looking at the national platform and what some of the concerns were when it came to sanctity of life, sanctity of sex, and sanctity of marriage. And so when I met Jeff, and I've heard him speak, and we were also at the Texas platform committee meetings that were supposed to be part of the Republican platform or Republican convention for 2020. Jeff did a great job there representing these issues, and I wanted to bring those issues and bring him as a presenter to this forum. So after 25 years of marriage, Jeff Morgan experienced an unwanted unilateral no-fault divorce in July of 2012. As a result, he is determined to change the no-fault divorce statute in Texas to help preserve families and minimize needless divorces. I've heard much of his presentation in different settings, and I will share with you that his message is not just for Texas. It is for everyone. It is for everyone in the United States and probably even internationally. So I want to welcome Jeff, and I'm going to turn over the floor to him. He has the presentation, and I'm going to put myself on mute. Thank you so much. If you have questions during the presentation, do try to keep them in the chat so that we can address them at the end and record this presentation thoroughly. Jeff?
Thank you so much, Debbie, and thank you, everybody, for being here. This is the first time I've given this presentation. I've been working on it. If you see a couple of typos, just overlook them or let me know later on. But the issue I'm going to be talking about is the issue of unilateral no-fault divorce. And when I say unilateral no-fault divorce, unilateral means only one person it only takes one person to get the divorce. No-fault divorce is the excuse clause that people use. I just want out. I want to leave the marriage. Vladimir Lenin said, destroy the family, destroy society. There has been very little that has caused more damage to the family and the United States of America than the issue of unilateral no-fault divorce. So my involvement in no-fault divorce, as Deborah said, I was on the receiving end of a no-fault divorce. We had been having some problems, but there were not no-fault issues. I thought that our marriage was easily worked through. I thought the divorce never should have occurred. I thought it was one of the stupidest divorces in the history of Texas. I even spoke to my ex-wife's attorney. His name is Charles Schurenberg. I've mentioned a couple of names. I'm not trying to embarrass some people, but some people I think need to be publicly shamed at the same time. So Charles Schurenberg is one of these people that I feel that way about. When I went and talked with him and I said, there's nothing that, I do not believe in this divorce, he told me, and after my wife had told him I was one of the best men out there, he turned to me, you are getting a divorce and there is nothing you can do about it. So I talked with a lot of people. I went to Bible college. I had my Bible college friends praying. I flew my former father-in-law, who was the so-called pastor who married us. I flew him up from Mexico. He knew some of the stuff that was going on, and yet under the facade of helping, he was really trying to negotiate a better deal. I had a pastor in Rockwall who recommended a divorce attorney from his church. And I will say this, that divorce attorney did try to do some type of mediation and reconciliation. That was his intent. I had another pastor up in Walla Walla, Ron Gonzalez, who was emailing my ex-wife, and she got mad at him because he was saying what you're doing is wrong. So what I found out is that, my ex-wife's family, they were good people. So I thought anyway, they were missionaries, they Christian people. They condemned her actions. They actually were praying at one point in time. The church friends thought that she was nuts. And I thought that there was something going on. I just could not figure this out. Maybe I'm just giving the background to my involvement. But I remember my ex-wife told me that she knew what she was doing was wrong. And she told me after the divorce that she had been holding out hope to the very end. Then right after she got her divorce, she claimed that God had delivered her from a violent man. And I'm like, what is this? I've never heard of this. This is even coming up before. Her family rallied around her. And I experienced a lot of lies and slander. The judge presiding over the execution chamber of divorce was Judge Brett Hall of the 382nd District Court in Rockwall, Texas. I was shocked again when I went into the court. I have never been in court. I don't know this stuff. I'm not a type of person who has to deal with this stuff, right? You walk inside there and you're completely in an area that you're unfamiliar with. The attorney comes in and the judge says, hi, Charlie. And I thought, what is this? Like they're buddy-buddy. And I put on the paper, I did not agree with the divorce, and the judge, nevertheless, he just went ahead and signed it. And then later on, he told me, it's not my fault. I had to grant a divorce, which is really not true according to the Texas Family Code, but that's his umbrage. So I put some YouTube video links in here. I do have some of this stuff on YouTube. I figured the best thing for me to do was not to be private about this and to hide it. Some of the stuff is embarrassing. Some of the stuff is hurtful and shameful. But if we were going to change things, I thought we needed to be public. So that's what I've done with my YouTube channel. Judges have an opportunity to do good. Judge Brett Hall could have done good. Judge Alice O'Leary, she was a judge who presided over 4,000 hearings. She was convinced that at least half of the people who start divorce suits are really hoping that something will stop them before it's too late. They insist they want a divorce, but at the same time, they're wishing that someone would step in and straighten things out. The tragedy is that in most cases, nobody does. And then she goes on to say further that there are very few insoluble basic differences in most cases. There's considerable evidence that almost half of the divorces could have been averted if someone had stepped in at the right moment and talked sense to the parties. And again, she was a judge that said this. So judges do have an opportunity to say that. My thoughts during the divorce was this. I saw a movie about a man who'd been falsely imprisoned for a crime he did not commit. And the judge even realized he did not commit the crime, but he did not want to let him out because the judge would look bad by doing so. And as I was watching this movie, I kept on saying, that's me, that's me, that's the way I feel right now. I've not done anything but I'm going through this stuff. And when I say I'm not done anything, what I mean is that there are certain standards of divorce and everything that we have in fault-based marriages. In any marriage over a week old, Brian Anderson once said there are reasons for divorce. But the purpose of marriage is to bind us together through those times. It is a commitment that we are still together. Marriage is the institution in which we learn forgiveness, we learn patience, we learn to adjust, we learn compromise, and we learn to teach this to our children. But during this time, I read a book, Taken into Custody, The War Against Fathers, Marriage, and the Family by Stephen Baskerville. This was the only book that gave me sanity because I thought, this is insane what's going on. And then afterwards, I said, after I get healed, because there was a lot of damage internally to me, my intent was to change the law. Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, for those who are Christians. This is Joseph at the end of his life, after he was saving his family and many nations from famine. He said, even though you intended to do harm to me, you meant it for evil. God intended it for good in order to preserve a numerous people as he is doing today. So I try to take that as my verse to say, this is what I'm going to do. What was meant for evil against me, God will use for good. So when we look at marriage, if we have disposable marriages, which unilateral no-fault divorce, which could also be called divorce on demand, divorce for any reason, divorce for no reason. You can make up a reason. Basically, that's it. If marriage is disposable, so is the family. If family is disposable. And shortly after this divorce that I went through, Matthew Krause, who was a Texas representative in House District 93, he made a comment on Facebook. He said, heterosexual divorce has done more to destroy the institution of family than same-sex marriage ever could. So I wrote to him and I asked him, I thanked him for what he said. I agreed with him and I asked him if he would sponsor legislation to repeal no-fault divorce. I don't know if he was doing it at the time or not, but I know that in 2017 we had House Bill 93 and 65, 2019 House Bill 922 and 926. Matthew has been the person who's been sponsoring legislation to repeal no-fault divorce for a number of reasons.